Hey everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week I went to see the big new release, which was of course Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And I have to admit, I was kind of disappointed. The reviews have been so good. They're like, oh, Tim Burton returned to form, blah, blah, blah. And there's just too much going on. It's kind of a mess, like it starts out with one plot thread and then adds another, but then it adds another and another and another. And it's just too much. Like the whole relationship between the Dietz family with Lydia and her mother and her daughter, that was a strong enough story, like by itself, that you didn't need the Monica Bellucci character, who doesn't really amount to anything. She's just a plot device, and it's like embarrassing for her, and it's just sad, and it's just kind of too much. It's chaos, but not the fun kind of chaos. It's just off-putting, and it's like it's just because that's the other thing. This movie, I didn't find it fun. The first one, obviously, it's about death and the underworld and such. So there are dark moments and there's some themes in there and stuff. But it had a sense of like fun and like whimsy and wackiness to it. Here, it's very heavy and dramatic, and there's a lot of seriousness to it. And when it does have wackiness, it doesn't always feel like fun wacky. It's sort of like, it just feels dark and heavy still. Like Catherine O'Hara does her best, but even she can't single-handedly save the scenes that she is in. Like she's funny. Everyone else is kind of playing it too serious. But it's just, I just found it kind of disappointing. Like it wasn't like a fun, humorous, wacky, dark comedy. I think I was amused a few times, but I only actually laughed. I remember laughing at a gag at the end credits. So that's not great. There are a few amusing bits, but I didn't actually laugh out loud until the end credits. Also, I rewatched the original the week before, and I kind of wish I hadn't, because I hadn't seen it in a while, so I wanted to refresh my memory. But I kind of wish I hadn't watched it, because the amazing, cool practical effects in the original made the CGI in the sequel even more egregious. Like, I appreciate that they animated the CGI sandworms to kind of look stop motion like the originals, but they're still CGI, and they just don't have that tactile presence that the physical object of the stop motion animated puppet has. You know what I mean? Like CGI just never has that solid tactile feeling to it. It always feels off. It never feels quite real. No matter how realistically they try to make it look, it never quite gets there. When they stretch people's faces in the original, the practical effects look cool and creepy and weird and disturbing. When they stretch people's faces in the sequel, they use CGI, and it just looks cheap and lazy. So instead, and I don't know why this bothered me so much. At the end of the movie, no spoilers, there's this ooze that drips down. And the ooze, as it started dripping, I suddenly was taken out of the moment, because I was like, oh, that's badly animated CGI ooze dripping. Because it wasn't dripping right. It didn't look right, it didn't look realistic. And I'm like, in the original film, they would have hired a guy, fill a tank with ooze, and pump it out. And it would drip, and it would look like ooze. Here, they hire a guy to sit in front of a keyboard and go clickety, 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 and make badly animated CGI ooze that drips slowly and wrong, and it just doesn't look right. And I don't know why that bothered me so much. Of all of this bad CGI in this movie, that I found the most egregious. I don't know why. I'm random that way. So if you liked the first one, you can go see this one. I just don't know if you'll really enjoy it as much as you enjoyed the first one, because I didn't. But to each their own. It'll probably be on Max in a few weeks. No, a few months, sorry. They don't come that fast anymore. Now they make you wait. And if it's making money in the theater, they'll actually leave them in theaters now and not push it to streaming quite so quickly. As for games, I played a lot of Disney Dreamlight Valley this week because they started this new like end of summer event where there are marshmallows that you collect and cook. So there's pink marshmallows on bushes and then blue marshmallows on the ground in random places around the biomes. And I looking online to see like how it worked. They were like, oh, you can find about like 10 or 12 blue marshmallows a day. But like the pink ones kept spawning on the bushes and I was just like, okay. But then as I was wandering around looking for the blue marshmallows, I passed through places, I'm like, I walked down this path and there was not a marshmallow there before, so I will take that marshmallow now. And it made me realize, like, after I found like 12 or 13 of them, I kept finding more. And I was like, okay, so they just keep spawning throughout the day. Okay. And so I would end up sitting there and like just wandering around aimlessly, like looking for marshmallows. And I don't know why. I mean, I used them to craft the s'mores and the roasted marshmallows, and then you can use those to then craft furniture, and I crafted like a bonfire pit, which weirdly the fire is animating like half in and half out of the pit, so that's not great for the hopefully the forest don't catch fire. Then I crafted like a chair and like a cooler and stuff. Like I'm just like crafting this stuff just because it's there. And then that led me to discover a really annoying thing about Disney Dreamlight Valley. So I'm almost done with the star path. So there's like 4 or 5 things left to do. One of which is to submit to Dream Snaps. And the challenge right now is a camping picture. And I'm like, well, great. Right now, like I've got my bonfire and the chair and the cooler and whatever. Let's go take a picture of it. The thing is, when you can use the cooler with your phone to activate your phone, and then it calls various Disney characters to join you around the bonfire, and you all pose for a nice group picture. And that's really cool, except for the fact that when you take that picture, it doesn't actually let you submit it to Dream Snaps because there's a Touch of Magic item visible. And I'm like, I'm not wearing any customizable clothing. There is no customizable furniture. That's what they call it. If you customize furniture or clothing, it's a touch of magic. And you can't submit those to Dream Snaps because it's like not fair, I guess. Because you might have something really cool that someone else doesn't. Who cares? But anyway, I was like, I'm not wearing anything. There's nothing out here. We're outside in the forest. Like, what touch of magic is there? So I'm like looking around, I couldn't figure it out. I'm like changing clothes and stuff and nothing's working. And I look online and apparently someone has discovered that if Daisy's boutique is visible in your photograph, that counts as touch of magic because you'll have clothing displayed in the windows of her boutique. And I'm like, oh, the angle at which my campfire is, yes, like the corner of the roof of Daisy's boutique is kind of visible, I think. The hell. But then I couldn't figure out why later, when I went back down into the plaza by my house, and I tried to take a selfie out in front of my house, that it kept saying there were Touch of Magic items. And I'm like, what the hell? I went inside my house, and it still said Touch of Magic. And I'm like, that's insane. Like, what? Like, is it because Daisy's boutique is just in the same biome or the next one over? I don't know. It's some weird bug in the game, and I want to submit this picture, but I think I'm going to have to, and you can't get rid of the boutique, because you can't get rid of buildings, but I think I'm going to have to, like, pick up Daisy's boutique and, like, go put it on the beach for a minute so I can take a picture, then put Daisy's boutique back, because it's just annoying. So that was super frustrating, and I have to figure out how to get around that bug, because nobody online seems to know. They're like, basically just move the boutique out of the way, and then move it back, and you're okay. Super annoying. So I played a lot of that, And then at the end of the week, I was finally like, hey, you should play some more Shenmue 3. Because I wasn't really in the mood to play Shenmue 3 because as I mentioned in the previous episode, I hit a wall where I need to get information from this guy, but I had to fight him and beat him, but he's like, oh, you have to level up your Kung Fu. So I had to go and like basically grind levels and like train and spar and get my Kung Fu attack and defense and main Kung Fu level up high enough so that I could finally beat him. And I did, finally. So that was nice. And then I got the information I needed and I continued my investigation. And I walked around and I investigated and I talked to people. I played hide and go seek with some kids to get the information they had. Then I found some clues and then I asked people about the clues. And that led me to a new area where I talked to more people. And then they're like, oh, go talk to this guy. So then I go to talk to that guy. And then all of a sudden, I go to cross a bridge, and suddenly, cutscene, and there are the thugs that I've been looking for this whole time, harassing some woman, poor innocent woman. And this cutscene then leads into a fight scene where I have to fight the two of them. However, Shenmue 3, as I mentioned, has an annoying stamina system where you don't really have, it's a combined health and stamina bar. So your stamina depletes as you do things. So by walking around and talking to people and doing stuff, my stamina went all the way down. And I think I had like maybe a third of my bar full. So of course these two guys, it was 2 against 1, so they kicked my ass. And they're like, you need to level up. And when the game restarted, it started me on the other side of the bridge before the cutscene. So I said, well, now I could, knowing that there's a fight scene coming up, I can go and like eat a bunch of food in the black garlic to get my stamina meter up to full, then go try the fight again. Except, I'm pretty sure that even with a full stamina meter, I wouldn't beat these two guys, because my Kung Fu is not leveled up enough for them, I don't believe. It's super annoying, and it made me realize that this is just some shitty game design right here. Because it's like, you have to make sure that your stamina, you have to constantly eat food, I guess, to make sure your stamina is all the way at the top, in case you run into a random fight scene, because you don't have the opportunity to fill your health before a fight scene that happens. When I fought that guy to get information, I knew I was going to have to go fight him, so I made sure to eat, then go fight him. Here, it's just random, it just popped up. How was I supposed to know? Am I supposed to just constantly be eating garlic all day long so that my health stays up there? Because just walking around, your stamina goes down. It's stupid. Secondly, the fights are super hard, and they kick your ass, and then you end up having to spend an entire day training and grinding and sparring and getting your levels up. And that's just tedious. And it makes me, like, I hit another wall with this playthrough. And now I don't want to play it again, because I know that the next time I play Shenmue 3, I'm going to have to sit there and grind levels again. And it's just like, I don't want to do that. That's boring and tedious. So what I have to do now, as I was playing during this second playthrough, I did happen across one of the horse stance training areas. So I did a little training for that just because it was there. And then I met this girl who was like, ooh, you do Kung Fu. Can I spar with you and learn something new? And I'm like, sure. So we sparred, so both of those like help my levels go up a little bit, but I'm starting to think that like I need to make sure that I'm constantly training and sparring every time I can, just to keep leveling up as I'm wandering about, because it's not like a regular RPG where you're constantly fighting and you're leveling up. So when you hit a boss fight, you should be at the right level. Here, there's nothing. You're just walking around talking with people, and suddenly there's a fight scene and you're woefully underpowered, and then you have to go and grind levels for a day. And that's just annoying, and nobody wants to do that. So I'm going to maybe try doing that so that I can level up as I'm doing the investigations. I can train and spar and stuff to try to keep my Kung Fu going up, so that the next time I run into a fight scene, I might have a fighting chance of actually winning it and not having to spend a day grinding levels, so that I can get to the next section of the game. Because if that doesn't happen, I might have to consider lowering the difficulty from normal to easy, because I'm playing it on normal, obviously, that's standard, but I might have to go with easy because I'm getting really frustrated with the fight scenes and constantly having to grind levels, and it's really boring and tedious. So bad game design, Shenmue 3. Glad I only paid $4 for it. Because the last thing, before I go real quick, I know this is already pretty long, but I did want to say, because I'm not going to be playing Star Wars Outlaws anytime soon, because like I said, I'm waiting for them to patch some of the game-breaking bugs and whatever. But one of the things that I saw in the reviews is that they're like, it's good, it's a lot of fun, it's very Star Wars, it feels like you're in the Star Wars universe, it's great, but the stealth is really annoying. And some of the stealth sections are incredibly difficult because people see you through walls and through mountains, and it's like absurd that they just catch you. And I just saw an article yesterday where the director of the game said that they're going to actually they're working on a patch for the stealth sections to make them not quite so difficult and like instant fail and that sort of thing. So definitely waiting at least a month or two for them to fix that. And if I can wait a little bit longer, maybe I can get it at a discount, and it won't cost me $70. So we'll see. So now I'm done, I promise. Come back next time and I'll talk about more stuff, and we'll see if I've hit another wall in Shenmue 3. Bye!